A couple of months ago, I really needed a break. Life in the city felt suffocating after my breakup. I decided to escape for the weekend to Pine Grove Campground. It seemed perfect for clearing my head. I've camped before, but the woods always remind me I'm alone. I set up my tent near the lake. The sun was setting, casting soft colors. I took a deep breath, trying to feel hopeful. My second night there, I woke up to a sound. At first I thought it was a party at another campsite, but the drumming was different. It felt rhythmic, like a heartbeat echoing in the night. I listened closely, but I heard no laughter or voices, just that steady beat. My heart raced. I figured it was nothing. Maybe just some campers having fun. I rolled over and tried to ignore it. The next night changed everything. I woke again, and the drumming was louder, closer. It was right outside my tent. I lay perfectly still, listening to the night sounds. That's when I heard them. Whispers. They came from just beyond the trees. I couldn't make out the words, but they felt urgent. My stomach sank. Shadows outside flickered with each beat of the drumming. I wanted to know what was going on. Was my mind playing tricks? I remembered the symbols I had seen carved into the trees earlier. At the time, I thought they were just kids messing around. Now I wasn't so sure. I unzipped my tent and stepped outside. The chill in the air hit me hard. The lake was still, the stars reflected perfectly, but the woods felt alive. I moved toward the noise, my heart pounding faster than the drumming. As I got closer, everything went silent. The whispering stopped. I stood among the trees trying to find the source. That's when I felt it. A presence. It felt like someone was watching me. My skin crawled as I turned, glancing over my shoulder. Nothing was there. Doubt crept in. Was it all in my head? I turned back and then I saw it, the same symbol carved deep into the bark. Suddenly, the drumming started again. Louder this time, surrounding me. Panic surged through my body. I needed to get back to my tent. I stumbled back, my heart racing, breath quickening. As I turned to run, I heard that whisper again. It was clear, soft, and chilling. "Why are you here?" I dashed back, throwing myself into my tent. I lay there, shaking. What were those sounds? What did I just encounter? I packed up early the next morning. My mind raced with questions. What was really out there? I couldn't shake the feeling. I had been so eager for quiet but found something unsettling instead. I still think about it sometimes. The weight of that night stays with me. I didn't just leave the campground. I felt I had escaped something. A knot tightens in my stomach when I remember that whisper. I wonder if I should have stayed away from those woods entirely. The drive home felt endless. I kept replaying that night in my head. Anxiety twisted my thoughts. What had I seen? What had I heard? I tried to shake it off, forcing myself to focus on the road, but every rustle of the trees along the highway made me jump. I thought about texting a friend, but I hesitated. It felt too strange to explain. Once I got back to my apartment, I collapsed on my couch. I hated how unsettled I felt. I needed distraction. I flipped through my phone, scrolling aimlessly. Then something caught my eye. A post about Pine Grove Campground. Curious, I tapped on it. The photo showed the beautiful lake, but the comments were riddled with eerie stories. People claimed to have seen strange lights at night and heard unsettling noises. My stomach dropped. I wasn't the only one who had sensed something wrong. I kept reading, heart racing. One comment mentioned the same symbols I had seen carved into the trees. The user claimed they belonged to an old folklore about the woods, a place haunted by spirits. I felt a chill run through me, but then a reply caught my attention. "Stay away if you hear the drumming. It doesn't mean well." My breath quickened. I remembered the steady beat that had surrounded me. Suddenly, I couldn't ignore the dread swelling inside me. I had assumed it was just my imagination, but maybe there was more to it. As night fell, shadows slipped across my walls. I tried to watch TV, but the flickering images barely registered. My mind drifted back to the campground. I decided I needed to know more. Who were these spirits? What did they want? The idea felt insane, but but I had to at least search for answers. I pulled up the internet and searched for Pine Grove folklore. Countless articles and blog posts flooded the screen, all hinting at an ancient ritual that had taken place there long ago. It celebrated the changing of seasons. The last entry I found mentioned an unsettling incident. A group of campers had gone missing decades ago. Panic twisted in my stomach. As I read, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Why did you come back?" I froze, my heart pounding. I didn't recognize the number. Swallowing hard, I quickly typed out a reply. "Who is this?" The response was instant. "You shouldn't have," followed by a string of that same strange symbol I had seen carved into the trees. My fingers trembled as I dropped my phone. Adrenaline surged through my veins. I glanced out the window, but the street was dark and quiet. Then I heard it, a faint drumming, echoing from somewhere beyond my apartment. The sound was distant but growing louder. I sank back into my seat, dread flooding over me. I felt that presence again, creeping in the shadows. It was back. I was not safe anymore. I took a deep breath, trying to quell my fear. But as the drumming intensified, I could only think of one thing. I needed to leave. I needed to find out why they were calling for me. I grabbed my jacket and headed to my car. Each creak of the building seemed to whisper warnings, but I shoved the door open and stepped outside. The night air hit me like a wall. I could still hear the drumming in the distance, almost like it was guiding me. I drove, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, heart racing. Reaching Pine Grove Campground once again felt surreal. I parked where I had before, under the skeletal branches of the trees. The moon hung high, illuminating the landscape, but shadows danced where the light couldn't reach. I hesitated, glancing at the darkened path that led deeper into the woods. Was I really ready to face what I might find? The drumming echoed louder now, as if calling me. I tightened my grip on the flashlight I had grabbed from my glove compartment. With every step into the woods, I felt more exposed. I had to know why I was drawn here, despite the warnings. The symbols carved into the trees were too familiar. They felt like a secret I was meant to uncover. I stumbled upon the clearing where I had seen the symbols before. This time I noticed something more. A circle of stones, arranged haphazardly, as if once part of something larger. I knelt beside them, running my fingers over the cool, rough surface. Then, a sudden gust of wind swept through, sending chills down my spine. That's when I saw it, standing just beyond the tree line. A figure, pale and distorted, moved limply in the shadows. Panic surged, but I was rooted to the spot. The drumming echoed rhythmically, almost hypnotically. Was this one of the spirits from the folklore? I tried to convince myself it was an illusion, but deep down I knew it wasn't. As the figure drew closer, clarity struck. I could see the outline of a face, twisted features painted in fear. My breath caught in my throat. How could this be? My instincts screamed at me to run, but I felt tethered by curiosity and horror. Then, as if the air shifted around me, the figure raised a hand, pointing directly at me. The drumming stopped. Silence enveloped the clearing, deep and suffocating. I wanted to scream, to flee, but my feet remained fixed. Just when I thought I would collapse from the weight of the moment, I heard a voice low and resonant. "You shouldn't have come back." It echoed through the woods, harmonizing unsettlingly with the shadows. I finally tore my gaze away from the figure and stumbled back, my heart pounding in my ears. I turned and ran, branches clawing at my skin as I bolted toward my car. I had to get out of there. The clearings shrank behind me, consumed by the darkness of the trees. My breath came in sharp gasps as I reached my car. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking. The forest seemed to watch me, holding its breath. As I cranked the engine, a chill washed over me. In the distance, the drumming resumed. Only now it sounded more frantic, almost furious. I looked back at the edge of the woods. That figure stood watching still, its finger still pointed, and an overwhelming dread flooded me. I didn't just uncover something hidden. I had stirred something I should have left alone. As I sped away, I realized that this was far from over. The drumming was a promise that I was marked, and I couldn't ignore the feeling that it might come for me again. The next morning I woke up drenched in sweat, heart still racing. I tried to shake off the previous night, but dread lingered like a fog. The drumming, the figure. It replayed in my mind, a haunting loop. I had to do something. I couldn't let fear control me. I needed answers, and the best place to start was at the local library. I drove through town, each familiar street amplifying my sense of unease. I felt like I was being watched, like that figure had come with me, trailing in the shadows. My thoughts scrambled together, and it took everything in me to focus. The library was quiet, almost too quiet. I stepped inside, greeted by the musty smell of old books. I made my way to the local history section, searching for any references to Pine Grove Campground or the folklore surrounding it. I flipped through pages, scanning for anything that stood out. That's when I found an old newspaper clipping, nearly buried between the pages of a dusty book. The headline read, "Tragic accident at Pine Grove. Family missing." My heart dropped. The article detailed the mysterious disappearance of a family camping in the area decades ago. No bodies were ever found, only traces of their campsite. The eerie details of their last known whereabouts sent chills through me. I ran my finger over the date, 30 years old. That would make them. The same time the symbols started appearing. My hands trembled as I read more, a connection forming in my mind. That figure, the drumming, was it linked to the family? I could feel the weight of the past pressing down on me. With new determination, I decided to dig deeper. I asked the librarian about any books on local legends. She suggested one written by an elderly woman named Agnes, who supposedly knew the area's folklore. When I mentioned Pine Grove, she looked up sharply, her expression shifting from curiosity to concern. "You should be careful around there," she warned. "Some things are better left undisturbed." I nodded, but I needed to know more. After gathering a few leads, I left the library feeling strangely empowered, but as I stepped outside, the chill in the air was thicker, like a heavy blanket pressing against me. I glanced around, half expecting to see that figure watching from behind a tree. That night I couldn't sleep. The drumming from the day before echoed in my mind, and every rustle outside made me jump. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had awakened something. So, with the sun still down, I grabbed my flashlight and made my way back to where it all started, the clearing. I parked my car at the edge of the woods and walked toward the clearing, nerves buzzing in my chest. The shadows lengthened around me, and I could feel the weight of the trees bearing down. When I reached the stones, everything felt different. The air was charged, electric. I dropped to my knees and examined the symbols again, tracing them with trembling fingers. That's when I heard it, a subtle shift in the air. My head snapped up. There, standing among the trees, was the figure again. But this time, it was closer, features clearer. And next to it, there was another shadow, a smaller one, swaying in a way that was uncomfortably familiar. Before I could process what I was seeing, the drumming resumed, wild, chaotic. I stumbled back, fear gripping me as I stared at the scene unfolding. I turned to run, but something held me back, a voice whispering urgently in my mind, "You need to stay." I didn't know what awaited me, but as I stood frozen, the realization hit me hard. Whatever was hidden in these woods was not finished with me yet. I stood there, heart pounding, the drumming thrumming through my bones. The figure remained still, its shadow stretching toward the faint light of my flashlight. I swallowed hard, refusing to give in to panic. I took a cautious step forward. The small shadow next to it felt eerily recognizable, but I couldn't quite place it. Who are you?" I croaked. My voice felt weak in the oppressive silence of the woods. Suddenly the smaller figure turned to face me fully. A child's face materialized in the dim light, wide eyes shining like two pale moons. I stumbled backward, the flashlight flickering over my trembling hands. Memories rushed back. My little brother, lost on a family camping trip long ago. I hadn't thought of him in years. The drumming became louder, more insistent. As I stood frozen, the larger figure raised an arm, beckoning me closer. Something inside me wanted to reply, to reach out, but another part screamed to run. "Is this a trick?" I whispered into the night. The child didn't respond but took a step forward, the shadow darkening. Just then, the air shifted again. A gust of wind whipped through the clearing, sending cold chills down my spine. In that moment, a connection sparked in my mind. The drumming matched the rhythmic beat of my heart, both accelerating into a wild pace. It was too much. "No, I don't want this," I yelled into the night, spurred by a surge of defiance. I turned to sprint away, but the ground shifted beneath my feet. I stumbled, nearly falling but catching myself against one of the stones. Panic tore through me as I felt a sudden pull, like the forest itself was trying to drag me back. The whispers returned, rising above the drumming. "Stay. Stay." I gritted my teeth, fighting against whatever hold it had on me. My eyes caught the symbols, flickering and pulsing with an energy that was almost alive. I had to understand. Without realizing it, I pressed my fingers into the carved symbols, and a shock of warmth shot through me. The drumming stopped abruptly. Silence enveloped the clearing. I could breathe again. I could think. I looked back toward the figures, now standing still. The child's eyes were searching, pleading, while the larger figure remained shrouded in shadow. Everything inside me screamed to flee. But before I could turn to run, I noticed the ground beneath the figures shifting. Earth split open, revealing something dark and foreboding below. Fear and curiosity battled within me as I watched, transfixed. "What are you?" I gasped, half expecting an answer. Instead, the child's face twisted, as if trying to convey something urgent, something important. And then I realized, the small figure was clutching something, a small object glinting in the moonlight. It dropped to the ground with a soft thud, and the moment it touched the earth, the air began to vibrate again, and the drumming picked up. My heart dropped. It wasn't over. This was just the beginning. As the symbols on the stones glowed brighter, drawing my gaze, I knew I couldn't ignore whatever was unfolding anymore. I was part of something that went deeper than I could have ever imagined. With that thought, I took a step closer to the small figure, knowing that discovery was inevitable, and I couldn't turn back now. But the new fear was quickening. I had no idea what would happen next. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. The darkness around me buzzed with a strange energy, almost as if the forest had come alive. The child stood there, unwavering, eyes pleading as if trapped in a limbo of longing. I was close enough now to see what had fallen from its hand. It was a small, shiny key, perfectly shaped and intricately decorated. My instinct told me to reach for it, but another part warned me to keep my distance. I glanced up, but the larger figure was still shrouded in darkness, an intimidating presence that I couldn't make sense of. I was no closer to understanding what was happening, and the weight of uncertainty threatened to crush me. I felt drawn to the key, entranced by its sheen. Each moment that passed seemed to stretch into eternity, and the drumming in my ears matched the frantic pace of my thoughts. "What is it unlocking?" I whispered, my voice shaky. The child tilted its head, eyes glimmering with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. Was it hope or despair? The moment felt surreal, as if I were caught between realities. The glow from the symbols intensified, illuminating the tree line around us, and casting long shadows that seemed to reach for me, beckoning me closer. Another gust of wind passed, chilling me to the bone. I hesitated, mind racing through fleeting memories of my brother, of laughter and warmth. Could he somehow be here? Was this a connection, or a cruel illusion? My heart ached at the thought. Suddenly the air turned thick with tension. A low rumble echoed through the clearing, shaking my bones. I could see the earth shifting again, twisting and curling around the carved stones. My body screamed at me to run, but the key's allure held me in place. I focused on it, willing myself to understand. As I took another step closer, the child raised its small hand, pointing towards the dark crevice the earth had revealed. "Please," it mouthed, though no sound came out. The urgency in its eyes sent a bolt of fear through me. Was I supposed to follow? Was the darkness below waiting for me? Before I could process my thoughts, the ground trembled more violently and the shadows deepened. I stepped back, breath hitching in my throat. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, my voice cracking with fear. The drumming returned, suffocating and all-consuming. as if the forest itself was crying out. Then, in the midst of that chaos, I spotted a familiar symbol glowing brighter than the others. It wasn't just any symbol. It was the one I remembered from that camping trip, the one painted on the old wooden signpost announcing the trail to the lake. That signpost had haunted my dreams, a reminder of what I lost. My mind raced. No, it can't be connected, I told myself. But the realization hit me like a punch. This place held the key to the past. Just then, the child's face twisted with desperation, and I could feel the air thickening. I was losing my grip on what was happening. Behind me, I heard another noise, a rustle in the trees, something large moving closer. I turned quickly, heart in my throat. Shadows converged, and a voice whispering my name pierced the night. It wasn't the child's voice. It was deeper, darker. Stay. With us. I was caught between two worlds, and just like that, I knew I had a decision to make. I backed away slowly, heart racing as I faced the shrouded figure behind me. The rustling grew louder, branches snapping underfoot. Something was out there, moving through the darkness. The child remained still, its small face a mask of fear, pleading silently with its eyes. "Who are you?" I called, voice trembling. The answer hung in the damp air, heavy and suffocating. The larger figure shifted slightly, revealing a glimpse of something horrifying, twisted features that seemed more shadow than flesh. My instincts screamed to run, but my feet remained rooted in place, stuck in the powerful grip of the forest's energy. "Please," the child mouthed again, urgency palpable. It felt like a lifeline pulling me back from the precipice of panic. The key still shimmered on the ground, an invitation I couldn't ignore. But the movement behind me trapped me in a terrifying tug-of-war between the past and an imminent threat. "That key, it's yours, isn't it?" I stammered, taking a small step forward. The child nodded, its expression shifting from fear to determination. As it did, I felt the air electrify around us. The trees seemed to lean in, straining to listen. Suddenly, the ground shook again. This time, it was not just a tremor, but a violent upheaval. The earth cracked, and a deep, resonating growl erupted from the crevice. My mind raced. To leave my brother behind, or to unearth the past? I had to make a choice. With one last surge of courage, I lunged for the key, snatching it up before it vanished into the dark void. The moment my fingers closed around it, everything shifted. A blinding flash illuminated the clearing, the light cutting through the weighty shadows that encased us. In that instant, I saw the larger figure for what it truly was, a silhouette of dread, its eyes glowing like embers in the night. I turned to the child, heart pounding. "What do I do?" I yelled over the chaos, but the child merely pointed at the crevice again. Desperation etched across its face. The growl intensified, vibrating through my bones. It was a sound that felt ancient, filled with resentment and despair. I could sense something rising from the dark, a threat that hungered for whatever was hidden beneath the earth. I had to act. I stepped forward, heart hammering as I peered into the crevice, feeling the pulse of the forest around me. "I'll help you," I promised the child, hoping against hope that my words would reach whatever spirit lingered in this cursed place. That's when I saw it. A glimmering light deep below, visible only for a fleeting moment before being swallowed back into the darkness. Something was down there, something that wanted to be found. But before I could process my next move, a heavy shadow loomed behind me. Panic surged again. "Leave now," the voice hissed, louder and closer, filling my ears with dread. I felt the grip of the key tightening in my palm and an insistent pull from the crevice that promised answers, but also danger. In that moment of uncertainty, I faced the choice: confront what lay below and risk everything, or flee into the night, leaving the child and the key behind. I took a deep breath and made my decision. I stepped toward the crevice, the key buzzing in my palm like a live wire. "I won't leave you," I said to the child, though my heart was sinking with doubt. The growl rolled over me like thunder, and the shadow behind me shifted, its presence growing thicker. As I leaned closer to the void, the light flickered again. It danced like a firefly, compelling me to reach for it. But before I could move, the shadow erupted with a guttural roar. I whipped around, adrenaline coursing through me. The figure emerged, taller now, revealing jagged features that made my skin crawl. Its eyes burned bright as if fueled by rage. "Leave now," it bellowed, voice echoing through the trees like a warning shot. I felt the ground pulsing beneath me, as if the forest itself was warning me to back off. The child cowered behind me, eyes wide, and a wave of protectiveness washed over me. With every second the crevice beckoned. I dared another glance down. There it was again, the glimmering light swirling like a beacon. "What are you?" I shouted, both to the figure and the depths below. "What do you want?" The creature's face twisted into a grotesque grimace. "Nothing you can understand," it hissed. "It is not for you to decide." Its voice dripped with disdain, and with every word I felt my resolve cracking. "Then tell me," I yelled, trying to mask my fear with defiance. The creature stepped closer, its shadow consuming the space between us. "You seek that which was buried, but some things are better lost." It extended its hand, and I could see the shadows swirling around its fingers, a mass of darkness that threatened to swallow me whole. The light in the crevice pulsed again, and a thought hit me, a memory I couldn't place. "What if it's not what you think? What if I can help?" I offered, desperation creeping into my voice. The key felt heavier in my grip, almost warm now, as if responding to my words. The child tugged at my shirt, urging me to act. "Don't listen. We can't." But its voice trailed off as the growl from below grew louder, drowning out all reason. "I'm going to find out the truth," I said, more to myself than to the others. In that moment, I took another step toward the crevice. The glow was mesmerizing, beckoning me to lean in closer. Then the ground shook violently again, and I lost my balance, pitching forward. One hand reached for the edge, my fingers clawing at the dirt, and the other instinctively held onto the key. I felt the coldness of the earth seep through my skin as I dangled precariously above the abyss. The creature lunged, shadows rippling from its form, stretching toward me. I knew I was about to be pulled into darkness. "Help me," I screamed, fear overtaking every rational thought. That plea hung in the air, suspended between realms, my voice echoing back at me as the world tipped into chaos. And then, everything went dark. Chapter 2. I gasped as I fell, my body suspended in a void that swallowed all light. Panic seized me, choking down my throat. Had I really screamed? Or was that just my mind? I felt the weight of the shadows press in, the darkness wrapping around me, holding me in a choking embrace. Suddenly, I jolted awake, sprawled on the ground. I blinked against the blinding sunlight streaming above. The crevice loomed just a few feet away. My heart raced, and I quickly pushed myself up, scanning my surroundings. The creature was gone, but the forest felt different, charged, almost humming with energy. "Are you okay?" The child's voice broke through the haze. I turned to see it standing a few steps back, still trembling. "I think so," I replied, rubbing my eyes. Had it all been a dream? But my hand still clutched the key, the metal warm against my palm. "What happened?" the child asked, glancing nervously toward the crevice. I don't really know," I admitted. "But I think that thing wanted to keep me from the light." "Then we have to go," it urged, its voice rising in panic. I shot a look back at the crevice, the light pulsating faintly, almost beckoning me once more. "No, I can't leave it like this. I need to find out what it wants." "Please," the child begged. "You don't understand. It's dangerous." Before I could respond, a rustling sound came from deeper in the trees. My heart raced again. Something was coming. I looked back at the child. Its eyes were wide with fear. "We should hide," I whispered, my instincts kicking in. I grabbed the child's hand and pulled it behind a thick tree trunk, hoping it would be enough cover. The rustling got louder, and soon a figure emerged, a man in a tattered jacket, his face obscured by shadows. "Help!" he called, voice hoarse. "Please help me!" I exchanged a hesitant glance with the child. Was this another trick? "What's wrong?" I asked cautiously. Something is after me. He stumbled closer, eyes darting around as if expecting a predator to leap out from the trees. You have to get me out of here. My instincts screamed to run, but I couldn't just leave him. What do you mean? What's chasing you? He took a deep breath, trembling. It emerges from the darkness. It takes those who get too close. I don't know what it is, but I saw it destroy my friends. They were... Just then, the growl returned, low and threatening, rumbling from the depths of the forest. The man froze, staring into the shadows where the sound echoed. It's here! It's coming! Run! I shouted, dragging the child with me as I sprinted through the underbrush. The man stumbled after us, but his desperation slowed him down. He cried out, "Don't leave me!" The ground trembled beneath us, and I risked a glance back. Shadows twisted in the trees, and from the edges of the darkness figures began to emerge, fleeting shapes that danced at the edges of my vision. "Faster!" I yelled, heart racing. I had to get us away from whatever nightmare lurked behind us. Then I felt my footing slip again, the earth giving way beneath me. A mass of shadows erupted from the trees, at least 3 figures closing in, and the growl exploded in my ears. I braced for impact, but as I fell, a flash of light erupted from the key in my grip. The darkness seemed to recoil. I landed hard, but the light enveloped me, a shield against the encroaching shadows. And that's when I realized I had no idea what I had just unleashed. I was still shaken from the fall, clinging to the glowing key, and the world around me seemed to shimmer like mirage. The light radiated from the key, illuminating the space around us. The shadows hesitated, flickering at the edges of the light, their growls fading to a low rumble. "Keep it close," I shouted to the child beside me. As I stood, the man stumbled forward, gasping for breath. His eyes widened as he saw the glow emanating from my hand, taking a cautious step back. "What have you got?" he asked, watching the key as if it were a loaded weapon. It's the key to something," I said uncertainly. "I think it's what they want." Just then, the growling grew louder again, like a distant storm echoing through the trees. I glanced over my shoulder and felt the hairs on my neck stand up. The dark figures coalesced beyond the light, stretching and swirling like smoke. Their eyes gleamed with a dreadful hunger, and I could see their twisted features more clearly now, a mocking reflection of fear. "Quick! What are we supposed to do?" the man shouted, panic etched into his features. "Maybe it's a way to protect us," I said, trying to make sense of it all. As the shadows surged closer, I raised the key above my head without thinking. "Get back!" I yelled, my voice suddenly steady. The golden light brightened, pushing back the darkness for the briefest moment. It was all a blur. The shadows recoiled like they'd been burned, grumbling in discontent. But in that moment, something shifted. The air thickened, and a low, ominous voice echoed through the clearing, deeper than before. "That light is not meant for you. It will only lead to ruin." I felt dread creeping in, tightening around my throat. I could sense the weight of something more, something ancient that had dwelled here long before us. "What do you want?" I cried out, realizing I was speaking to the darkness and its voices. A flicker of laughter danced through the shadows. "You've disturbed things that should remain buried," the voice hissed. "Leave or stay, it will not matter. You will suffer the consequences." Panic surged within me, turning my breath shallow. I glanced at the child, their small frame trembling beside me. "We can't stay here," I urged, only to feel the man's hand grip my wrist, pulling me backward. "It's coming," he warned, eyes darting toward the deepening shadows. Something was moving, darting between the trees, and I could hear it breathing, heavy and labored. The light flickered, dimming as fear gnawed at me. "We need to use its power," I shouted, trying to rally courage I didn't feel. "We just need to figure out what to do." "But what if it turns on us?" the child gasped, clutching my other hand tighter. "Then we fight! We can't let them take us," I replied, my heart pounding. In that moment, just as the shadows surged forward again, I heard the rhythmic drumming return, eternal and entrancing. It echoed within me, a call I couldn't resist. The urge to lean into the darkness, intoxicating, seductive. The figures seemed to sway in response, almost dancing to the dreadful rhythm. I felt the pull, No! I yelled at myself as the urge intensified. Focus! Hold on to the key, the child urged, tightening their grip around my arm. What else? It must mean something. Suddenly, as if my thoughts reached the very depths of the shadows, the air trembled with confinement. The illumination glimmered around us, focusing toward the crevice where the light had flickered before. The shadows howled, a cacophony of rage and sorrow, and in that moment of chaos I realized the key wasn't just for unlocking doors, it was about connecting worlds, bridging the living with the lost. I thrust the key toward the crevice, the shadows shrinking back in an amalgamation of fury and fear. What are you? I screamed again, and the weight of my voice pressed against the solid darkness around us. Destroy us, and you will be claimed, the voice rumbled, echoing as the air thickened with tension. The key pulsed in response. I could feel it resonate with some power that rippled through the air. You give me no choice, I shouted, vision narrowing on the storehouse of secrets buried within that rift. And then, without warning, I plunged the key deep into the crevice. A brilliant light erupted, blinding in its ferocity. The ground shook violently beneath us, and the forest echoed back in shrieks of dismay. The world around me shattered, and I could feel the darkness swirling, twisting, and retracting as energy exploded outward. I braced myself as a wave of force smashed into me, the shadows dissolving like smoke in the wind. When I opened my eyes, everything stood still. The clearing was gone, replaced by an endless expanse of white light. Yet, I still felt the knot of unease sitting in the pit of my stomach. Did we escape? I murmured, glancing at the man and the child beside me. Their faces reflected dread and awe. I think we may have just uncovered something deep and ancient, he replied solemnly. I still felt the key, thrumming against my chest, a reminder of the weight of what we had experienced. But even as the echoes of fears faded into the distance, one lingering thought remained. What had truly been freed? I turned to face the horizon, uncertainty gnawing at my thoughts. Something in me knew we hadn't seen the last of whatever had haunted Pine Grove Campground. The true nature of that darkness lingered, and somewhere it still pulsed, a heartbeat echoing beneath the surface waiting to be awakened once again. As we stood there, at the cusp of something new, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were still tied to what lay hidden, its whispers reaching toward us through time and shadow, us inextricably woven into its fate, whether we wanted it or not.